for 5.5 seasons with the Pelicans. He gets traded to Toronto for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a future first-round pick, a future second-round pick. And for the Raptors, Ingram makes sense. He's a buy low guy. He could potentially be a franchise-ish player that you put alongside Scotty Barnes. He has been out since December, but when he's healthy, I mean, he scores. He's lanky. He can facilitate. I mean, you could pretty much plug him into any lineup and he can get you buckets. So I don't hate this move for the Raptors. I do think it'll be interesting to see what they do with him long term. If you look at the Raptors situation, they have around $50 million in cap room. So they got a lot of money to work with, and they're projected to be one of those kind of few teams that could potentially pay a guy. And getting someone like a Brandon Ingram and getting his bird rights, I think makes sense for them because it's not the easiest place to acquire talent. Not a lot of dudes want to go up and play for Toronto. So you got to get your stars any way you can. And you look at this offseason, I mean, there's not a lot of teams out there that are going to have money to spend. You got Toronto, you got Brooklyn, but it's not like Brandon Ingram is going to have his pick of the litter as far as destinations go. So I could see them getting a long-term deal done. I really could. So I like this move. I actually have I have Brandon Ingram and the Toronto Raptors as a winner in all this.
Ironically enough, Doug, I love this trade for the Raptors. Obviously, it's not a win right now move, but the future is bright. I am higher on Scotty Barnes, maybe more than most. I think the tools and the intangibles that he has as a basketball player really make him intriguing to watch over the next few seasons. But I look at it like this. If you have Brandon Ingram, you have Scotty Barnes, and then you have a top 3 pick and you can draft a Dylan Harper as your point guard, I think the Toronto Raptors could be in a situation where they could be scary in the future because unlike most teams, Doug, they're like the Memphis Grizzlies. You got to build this thing within the inside out. You're not going to attract a lot of superstars. You're going to have to draft, and you're going to have to get really lucky in free agency. And Brandon Ingram to the Raptors, I really do love the move for the organization. I'm optimistic for sure.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, look, as it stands right now, Toronto, if the draft for tomorrow, they have the 6th best lottery odds. And with Ingram, you're probably a better team than the Brooklyn Nets right now, who, if they win one more game, they'd be ahead of them in the moment. So we'll see Chicago, they dump some guys. We'll see how they look for the second part of the season. But, I think the Raptors are just in rebuild mode. I really do. And I think that they're trying to do a balance of, can we get stars? Can we sign guys? And who can we get through the draft? So I like the move too. I think Scotty Barnes, like you said, probably one of the most underrated stars in the sport. But what Toronto lacks is a guy that can make shots in big moments. The Raptors 23rd in clutch shot making in the NBA. If you watch BI throughout his career, he's a guy that can get you a bucket in a big spot. So it's kind of been a weird career for Brandon Ingram, by the way. You get traded to the Lakers. You, of course, are the headliner in the Anthony Davis deal. Come out of Duke. The market's not strong in New Orleans. They get Zion. Zion just, he just hasn't worked out, to say the least, with the conditioning and hasn't been able to stay on the floor. So it's been kind of one of those franchises that's really in purgatory.